Hello, I will be sharing Session 1 notes on the Bible study entitled Gideon. During this study, I hope that you will begin to see that there is an opportunity to move forward in your relationship with Him as we meet Gideon. We find out that he is in a nation of people who have stopped moving forward. They had been commissioned to move forward, but they chose instead to stand still. They had become distracted by their surroundings and were no longer moving forward in the things of the Lord. The children of Israel had been brought out of captivity after 400 years of slavery. They have been led out of the wilderness and were now in the promised land. And God told them that they could own all of it, and He had given it all to them. They were given the opportunity to move forward in the land that had already been given to them. But they chose to stand still, just like some of us today. They missed the green light. As we begin to study Gideon, we will look in the time of history which it existed, and then we will try to see what it is that God is trying to teach us. The story of Gideon is in 3 chapters in the book of Judges, chapter 6 through 8. In the 6th chapter of Judges, we find that the sons of Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. And He gave them over into the hands of Midian for 7 years. These people had chosen evil and rebellion rather than to submit to Him. They were doing what was right in their own eyes instead of honoring God. It seems like we are living in a day and age where everyone is just choosing to do what's right in their own eyes. And people are just making up their own rules and regulations. But God is merciful and He is kind, and He shows us grace when we are in trouble. In this lesson, He raised up a deliverer. So in the midst of our rebellion, He still cares. And He raises up people called judges. In Gideon's day, a judge was an individual that was called by God, then empowered by God for the purpose of unifying the people of God so that they could stand victoriously against the enemies of God. Their primary goal was to make sure that the children of God were unified enough to stand against the enemy. God is calling every one of us to do the same thing in this day and age. He calls us, He commissions us, He empowers us. The children of Israel had gotten settled in the promised land, and they began to divide physically and spiritually. And whenever there's division in the body of Christ, the enemy tries to take a foothold on you. But we are designed to have unity, and that does not mean that we are the same. But we do have a oneness of purpose to bring glory and honor to God. When we are unified, we have strength to stand against the enemy's attacks. There were 12 judges that were called by God and empowered by God. So during this study, let's try to find out how in the world the children of Israel got to this point of devastation and oppression. One of the things that happened is that there was a problem with the information that they were receiving. The bottom line is that their parents didn't do the teaching. And today we still have a problem with the teachings not being done and not being passed down to the younger generations. The children of Israel's parents had become complacent and comfortable, and they forgot to teach the kids about the one who could bless them. They neglected them, but God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He's the same from everlasting to everlasting. He will never change. But in the book of Joshua, he wasn't playing any games. When he led those people into the promised land, he gave a very important farewell speech before he died. He reminded them where God had brought them from. And he said, I want you to think about what it felt like to be in slavery for 400 years. He reminded them how of the 10 plagues and how manna had fell from heaven. And he also reminded them how they had to wear the same shoes for 40 years. He reminded them of all these things so that when they got to the land, that they would not forget who God is. Joshua went out of his way to make sure they understood God. And he said, as for me and my house, we are going to serve the Lord. Choose ye this day who you are going to serve. We have to realize that the enemy is after our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. He is after this next generation. So we need to make it our business to impress upon those who are coming after us of who God is. So I encourage you to find someone a little younger than you or under you and go teach them. Even if they act like they could care less what you're talking about, put the word into them. We need to help break these chains that have so many people bound. Thank you for listening to session 1 of the story of Gideon. Until the next time, God bless you and may God keep you.